Welcome to the Christie Taylor Show. I'm your host, Christie Taylor, and happy amazing day that it is. I am super excited because I have an old friend who is gracing the Christie Taylor Show for the first time. And all I'm going to say is she was just number one on the Billboard chart. Yes. As a matter of fact, you will know her and love her if you're in the 901. Shontelle Norman-Beatty, Memphis' own Shontelle, background vocalist and former member of the new Edwin Hawkins Singers, revisits her traditional gospel foundation with her second ever single release, Jesus Will Fix It. Now, Shontelle reconnects with friend and Grammy Award winning producer Jonathon J-Rych Richmond and signed to Dare Records, founded by a longtime friend, Michael Anthony Taylor, aka my brother. Now, their musical collaboration, written and produced by J-Rych, recently reached number one on Billboard charts. Now, this amazing vocalist, who has toured with Grammy and Tony Award winner and NEA Jazz Master Dee Bridgewater, is also a first lady, yes, in Houston, Texas, to her husband, Pastor Andre Beatty, who's also a lover of the arts. Now, her musical roots run real deep, with homage to her talented family, including the late Shea Norman, her father, Elder James Norman, and her siblings, Charisse and Shallen Norman, who are featured on the single. Now, Shontelle is currently in the studio finishing her new EP, and I want you all to help me welcome to the Christie Taylor Show, the one, the only Shontelle Norman-Beatty. Hey, sis.
Hey.
Oh my goodness. First of all, I have been, since you last year was announced to be signed to Dare Records, I've been trying to get you on the show. But I'm gonna take it that I'm glad I got you since you've gone number one. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm so honored to be here, and I thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to be on your show. Like, I'm so honored because I've been doing it for years.
You have been hitting the airwaves all across this country, across the world, with your new single, Jesus Will Fix It. But before we get to one of my favorite songs, Jesus Will Fix It, Trouble in My Way, let's take it back to, let's say up the highway from Memphis. Your musical heritage, your childhood, honey, singing since 2 years old.
Listen, growing up with my dad, Elder Norman, and him being the state choir president for Central Jurisdiction under the leadership of Bishop W.L. Porter, the late Bishop W.L. Porter in Church of God in Christ, just having that musical, foundation that you just wake up to and you eat with and you go to sleep with was just, second to none. My aunts sing, my grandfather sings, my grandmother played the piano. Yes. A lot of people didn't know that, so it was just rich in musical history. No matter what I did, music was right around, like everywhere I turned, it was there. So,
and of course, that was also evident in your siblings. Oh, wow. Can we talk about growing up with your amazing brother, Shea Norman, and your other siblings as well?
Listen, growing up, we had the inside joke, Shea, Charisse, and I, that Daddy was the gospel Joe Jackson. As far as our household with, there was no playing, we would laugh and talk and, all this and other. But when Daddy came in the room, we cut that out. There was no more laughing and talking. However, Charisse was the one that always got away with saying how she felt because she was the baby. Mm-hmm. So, but it was fun. The 3-part harmony, that sibling harmony that we had with me, Shea, and Charisse, was just second to none. And so, then Shallen came about later on. Shallen said he was going to do something different, and then ended up being a minister of music anyway.
You can't run away from that Norman energy, honey. You can't. Growing up, because this also talks about the full circle of this very project that you are, celebrating at this time, and the notoriety that you're receiving nationwide, actually started in the Church of God in Christ with the 3 people, because we grew up with your father being our state minister of music. So myself, my brother, we were intimately involved with your family through those choir rehearsals. Can you imagine what you all could have thought of that decades. Now we're going to say decades later.
Listen, I was telling your brother Michael when we came together and collaborated. Well, before we actually got to working on the music, I was telling him, who would have ever thought that the little bright guy that was always running his mouth and getting on everybody's nerve, would sign me to a record deal, and it was just like. And it wasn't the type, we were kids at that point in time. Everybody was getting on everybody's nerves, However, it was like, I was telling him, it was like, I saw you all the time. And then when I didn't see you, I missed you. It was like, I didn't know where you went and I didn't know where you had gone. And I was like, you just wasn't in my life anymore. And, so it is full circle. It is, and then to learn later on that he was your brother. I didn't know that growing up when we were kids.
Because you all were babies, because it was almost like 4 or 5 years between. So particularly during those years, I would have already been in high school.
Yes.
So, even though Shea was always an old soul, he would always try to get to know everybody, no matter what our ages. So when I came back from college, had lived in Detroit, and Shea had his choir, which was a masterful choir. And I don't know how we connected, but he invited me to a choir rehearsal and I was floored. I was absolutely floored. First of all, to see both of you all as adults, I was like, whoa, they're not children anymore.
No, it was, listen, I think Shea's choir was really before their time.
Yes.
We were doing things that, people today are doing. However, we were doing them 20 plus years ago.
Yes.
And so it was, it was just his mind and where where our father took us as far as, musicality goes, if that's a word, is just to think outside of the box. Just don't think 3-part harmony. Just don't think, because Shea actually took, music lessons from Aaron Thomas, and because Daddy wanted him to learn how to read music, and Aaron Thomas told him there's nothing I can teach him because his ear is so impeccable. No matter what I play on this sheet music, he's gonna hear me play it and he's gonna reciprocate it exactly as is. He's like, and I don't want him to lose that feel that he has, with the theory of the music. And so, he told my dad, he was like, he's already there. Like, there's nothing else that he can learn except for just his keys. And you're teaching him that, and his number system. And you're teaching him that. He's like, so I don't feel right taking your money. He's like, he's just one of those child prodigies.
Yes.
So,
it's a beautiful lesson in, because, Aaron Thomas and Derek Jackson were some of the most phenomenal keyboardists and organists in our age bracket. They're still worthy of the praise that we give them. And for Aaron to understand and know the gift that was Shea Norman. Yes. And to not pervert it, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. So when did you, okay, and I'm going to say this within the light of the fact that, Shea was an old soul and he was a child prodigy. When did Shontelle start emerging out of the shadow of Shea? Because it was always a family affair. It was always the Normans. So when did you start coming into your own? Because a couple of times, there are times in my life I wasn't here to see you blossom. So when did Shontelle become Shontelle Norman?
I think I tried to become Shontelle Norman when I started singing with the Edwin Hawkins Singers.
Wait a minute, you're not even going to count before then, because we had already, when I came back from one of my journeys, we're talking the early 2000s. Shea was still doing, he had the group had ended and he was doing more solo, and you were starting to sing solo. You're not counting that time?
No, because I was still known as Shea Norman's sister. Okay. So no one knew me except for as Shea Norman sisters. Okay. And I do not negate that at all, because Shea Norman, that title, Shea Norman sister, got me into a lot of doors. It got me to sing background for a lot of artists. And, you know, it got me known as far as my brother. So I didn't mind that at all. However, when I started singing with the Hawkins, and there was a lot of people that didn't know Shea Norman, you know, so it was like, okay, so he's Shontelle Norman's brother. I mean, he's Shontelle Norman's brother. And so that's when it, just a little snippet of it started. Yeah. However, now, since Jesus Will Fix It has come out, a lot of people didn't know. So it's like, so Shea Norman was your brother?
So now full circle. It's almost like me and my brother. Most people didn't know I had done radio for so long. Michael's been in the music industry forever. And then some people to this day, who is Michael Anthony Taylor? You know, and it's like, oh, that's my brother. Oh, and of course he has a nickname in the industry is Mookie.
Of course.
So yes. And it's such a beautiful gift that relationships among siblings can produce great product in and of themselves. And to be able to see you blossom as you have has been amazing. Now, part of your personal growth, including the fact that you were part of the new Edwin Hawkins Singers, is that you have toured with some of everybody. I mean, you said that, but you have literally toured with some amazing people. And one of the projects when I came back from one of my, I left radio, went back to Oral Roberts University, finished my degree, and had made it as far as LA because of my venture into television and film. But I came back home around 2014, 2015, and a movie had just been released about Take Me to the River. I went to one of the theaters here, a matinee, and I'm like, oh my God, because I love music documentaries, and I'm laughing and crying. And then there's a scene, and I'm like, Shontelle. And then I said, and her baby sister, Cherie. Tell me, how did you get connected to that? And then we're going to talk about another great moment that you've had.
So I thank God for the third singer on there, Stephanie Bolton. I'll tell everybody, Stephanie, my sister and I started out singing background for Stephanie at Isaac Hayes. And Boo Mitchell, one of the producers, the executive producers for Take Me to the River, he was at Memphis Sounds one night, and Charisse and I was singing background for Stephanie. And he was like, I've been looking for this sound forever. Like, where you girls been? And we started doing a lot of background work for different artists that he would just bring in, and he would need background singers for as far as sessions go, studio sessions, recording sessions. And so the movie came up. The talk of the documentary came up, and he was just like, hey, I've got to use y'all three. Like, there's nobody else that I can just leave the music to and know that it's going to definitely get done, and I don't have to worry about it. So that was Boo's, he's always just given us music and say, here, do this, come up with something. And that's what we've always been. So it was just an honor to be in the room with so many greats before they passed doing that movie.
Yes. That was the other thing about that project, that it was perfectly filmed and released.
Yes.
Because many of them have transitions, legends in this region.
Yes.
And I am so grateful that, Boo Mitchell, who we have to add to the legacy of Memphis, his father, Willie Mitchell, for those who may be watching around the world, he was the architect of the Al Green sound, because right there in South Memphis, where their studio still is, to this day, it is a time capsule. And I love the fact that even in the film, you all recorded in some of those legendary rooms. The magic in those rooms. I mean, it's literally probably the same carpet, the same everything.
The exact same. It's even the same drum set that they used for the same drum set and the same organ that they used for Al Green's first album. Everything is the same.
Wow. The magic in those rooms, in those rooms. Now, Shontelle, once again, I have been just amazed to see you all grow And shout out to everyone that you're speaking to, and how it's all integrated, and it's all about relationship building. And one particular relationship that you built was with a phenomenal vocalist that you met. Was it a jazz club?
It was actually in Italy. A friend of mine was supposed to go to Italy and do, they had a soul festival. And so she was supposed to go to Italy and do this soul festival. However, she was having issues with her passport, so she couldn't go. So they was like, hey, Shontelle, come on, because we need someone that we know that has the passport. And so who was there? It was almost like a tribute to Memphis music, because I can't think of the organist's name, but he's a guy from Memphis that I can't think of his name right now, but he now lives in Europe. He was playing the organ. He was featured on that weekend. And then Dee Dee Bridgewater, you know, by her being originally from Memphis, she was featured. And then it was little old me, just a little old country girl from Memphis, you know. But what's funny about that story, Christy, is when I got to Italy and I saw the advertisements, they actually had Angie Stone's pictures.
What? Instead of you? But of course, Angie Stone has a strong Memphis connection as well.
She does. She does.
Wow, but the very fact that they had her instead of you.
Exactly. Exactly. It was so funny. It was really funny.
So what was the relationship building that you end up making with the legendary Grammy and Tony Award winning Dee Dee Bridgewater, who once again is a Memphian?
Is a Memphian, like, you know,
I didn't know that until I saw the drummer Carlos Sargent. Loved out to him. And I was following, because, you know, he makes the most amazing Instagram posts about when he's on the road. Yes. And that's when I saw you were on the road there. I was like, oh man, they took the whole Memphis band and choir. And then I was reading Memphian. I was like, wait a minute. Never knew that. And of course, we just sing her praises. So here you are in Italy. You know,
and, I got a chance to meet her. I went to her show because her show was the night before mine. And so I went to her show and it was just phenomenal. She did all of this jazz and was with this big band with all of these horns and strings, this orchestra. And I was just like, wow, I can't, you know, I really want to meet her. And she just so happened, she came to my show and I got a chance to meet her. And she had this big, ginormous smile that I absolutely love. And it was just so inviting. And I just put it in the atmosphere. And I just told God, I'm going to sing background for you one day. I don't know how, I don't know when, and I don't know what you're going to sing, because you do jazz and that doesn't need background, but I'm going to sing background for you one day. And that was in 2009.
Wow.
That was in 2009. And she decided to, 4 years ago, to do an album, a tribute to her hometown, which was Memphis. And her dad taught at Booker T. Washington.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like she, you know, she came back home. She always wanted to do soul music. She always wanted to do R&B. However, her mom was like, no, you're not going to do that music. You're going to stick with jazz because that's more sophisticated. And she wanted to be a sophisticated artist. And so she's like, this is a lifelong dream of mine to sing, because she even talks about when we were on tour, how she used to listen to WDIA late at night. Right. And so, listen, she is such an amazing soul and being, and she is so sweet, and she is very, very supportive of me. She loves my songs. She was just hugging me because we actually just got back from Cape May, New Jersey, because I still sing background for her.
That's good.
Listen, background singing will forever be my first love. Ever. And just as long as I can do it, I'm going to continue to do it, because I love it so much. And so I don't ever want to, it's almost like you know, when you find those things in your childhood that you love to do and you don't want to let it go.
Yes.
That's just one of those things that I'm going to forever have fun doing, because I don't ever want it to be so serious that it lose the joy, that I lose my joy. So that's where my joy comes in from just singing background. So I love Dee Dee Bridgewater. I thank God for, ever since 2017, I have been on the road with Dee Dee Bridgewater, and I'm so happy about that.
And I am so glad to hear the camaraderie that, even though oftentimes Memphis artists, creatives are not, their praises are not sung as much as it should be. The world loves us, but I loved also the camaraderie and the fellowship that you all are enjoying with each other, which even leads back to, like you said, with the year you met her several years ago, and you went to Italy, and they had Angie Stone on the Billboard. There's a strong Angie Stone Memphis connection because of Jonathon Richmond.
Yes.
Which is going to lead us to your hit song.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Listen, when we were in the studio, Angie Stone actually came to the studio when we were working on the EP. And so, you know, I used to sing background for Angie Stone as well. And Jonathon actually, you know, he produced for her and wrote for her. And I'm just so grateful. That's how you all
met each other, because Jonathon was on the road with her because of, once again, Stephanie Bolton had made that connection between Jonathon and Angie Stone. And then, of course, you all had a gospel group at one point that Jonathon had produced. I mean, so much has happened. And then full circle.
Full. When I say full, Christy, I mean full. And it's almost sometimes like, you know, I'm rotating around that full circle. Like it's like Saturn, you know, you just got the other circles just going around it. I'm just so honored by everything. The music industry, as big as it is, it's still small, you know, and it's still quaint. And it's all about how you treat people and who you know and who you respect, and also who you pay homage to. You know, so I'm so grateful that I got the opportunity to sing background for Angie Stone one day. And then, you know, Jonathon Richmond, you know, who J-Rych, you know, who was, to me, in my opinion, you know, came up with the whole forgiving sound.
Yes.
With I Ain't Mad at You, you know.
Ooh, and did I do a poetry thing on that one?
Yes.
I try to remember.
I am caught.
I need this. We need to re-release that. We need to re-release it.
Listen, that song, like, it was so many people that loved that song. And to me, you know, he was the epitome of that sound. And so, you know, when what's funny is, which leads me to how I got signed. When I saw your brother in at BB King's, my sister was singing background for Eric Gales at the Eric Gales show at BB King's, and I saw Mookie that night.
It must have been a classic weekend.
I believe so.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe so, because we had thrown that was September, because my sister, we had just threw her a baby shower. She was pregnant at the time. And Mookie saw me, and then he called me, you know, a couple of months later and was like, "What you doing, mama?" And I'm like, "Nothing, laying in the bed watching TV. What you doing?" He's like, "No, what you doing? What are you doing with all of this talent that you have and all of this gift?" And I was like, "Nothing," because I had just lost Shea. And so I was still mourning, you know, him. And I was content and I was happy with just settling in life, being a wife and being a background singer, because I didn't have to think about anyone else but me, because I was hurting so badly at that particular time. And so it was like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. Although I had just talked to J-Rych about, you know, recording about 5 songs and just doing a tribute album to Shea, and possibly redoing some of his songs on his album, just doing like a mixtape type of thing. Nothing just big or anything like that, until your brother was like, "No, we're not gonna do that." I've already talked to Jonathon, and we're not going to do that. And I'm like, huh? What? You making this decision for me? He's like, yes. So, we talked about all the particulars, and, the three of us discussed things, and here we are with a #1 record that, me personally, I never saw. Like, I didn't want this. This is not something that, I've always wanted to record.
Yes.
However, to get to this level of it, it's not something that I was pursuing. I was happy and content with being where I was, a praise and worship leader on Sundays, a background singer traveling the world, a wife to a wonderful husband.
Shout out to the hubby.
Shout out to my husband, my good thing, my man, honey. I love him to death. But yeah, and I thank him for his support throughout this whole entire journey. As far as me traveling the world, me going crazy when I lost my brother, because he had to deal with that. He had to deal with me. He had to deal with the depressed me, because now I'm no longer the happy-go-lucky Shawn, because I was always in a good mood. Now I'm the depressed Shawn because I've lost a piece of me that I wasn't ready to lose. Like, no, God, why would you do this? Now I'm dealing with, I'm no longer depressed, but I'm in like this weird state because I'm working on an album and my brother should be here.
Right.
So it's like, God,
so your Pastor Beatty had to really step in and he has been supported. Matter of fact, at the Stellars, I love so many of the pictures that you all posted on social media, because when I tell you, he was like, it was so much love in the pictures, even when he would stand back and watch. It's almost like him from a distance, just me, because I love photography and I like to capture moments. It's like he was protecting you even when he stepped back, when people were engaging you. And I loved that, some of those pictures that you all posted. I'm glad that whoever snapped those pictures captured those moments. And speaking of what we are celebrating, you recently hit #1 on the Billboard charts.
Yes.
With this song. And I just got to give them a snippet right quick, Shontelle.
Come on, let's do it.
Okay.
Now I want everybody to clap your hands in this place.
Ladies and gentlemen and ladies, we want to bring to you Memphis' own. The world's been waiting on it, and now the wait is finally over. Shontelle.
Trouble in my way, I have to cry sometimes. Trouble, I have to cry sometimes. I lay awake at night, but that's alright, yeah, 'cause I know Jesus, He will fix it. 'Cause I know Jesus, He will fix it. 'Cause I know Jesus, He will fix it. After a while.
All right now, after a while. Okay, you didn't do that vibrato, but I'm just saying, you gave it to us. You gave it to us.
Shout out to the hubs who did. Ladies and gentlemen and ladies. Yes, that's my husband.
Shout out to the hub. I was wondering who did that.
That's my husband. That's Bishop Andre T. Beatty himself. Pastor used to be a rapper back in the day.
You know something? What? I never knew that. I know that he's deep into the arts, theater, film, but I didn't know he used to spit. He was just, shut it up.
Yes, he even has a single out called "This Is Who I Am" that released like years and years ago. And He was just like, hey, I did it, I tried it, and God is calling me to somewhere else. So, I told him, I was like, well, just keep it in your back pocket, because
that's right, because you never know. You never know now, because God has creative ways of doing ministries in the 21st century. Come on,
and it's so funny because I told Jonathon, Jonathon was like, we need somebody to introduce you. Like, we need something right there, like an introduction, or like a little rap or some spoken word. And I was like, well, my husband, I was like, he can hype it up. And Jonathon was like, your husband. I was like, trust me. I was like, because I I understand what he, his sentiment.
My husband who
people always
Beatty can do it.
Some stuff, and so we went to a studio here in Houston, and I did it and sent it to him. I just sent him a voice clip of it, and Jonathon, J-Rych was like, "Man, how come you didn't tell me?" I said, I just told you that he could.
I just told you, right? I love it. I love it.
He's like, "That's what I need." Okay, now tell him to do it 3 more different ways, and then send them all to me, and I'll splice it up.
I love it. There it is. I love it. Well, shout out to the hubby. Shout out to the bishop. Thank you. Oh yeah, he introduced you to the world, darling. He still is definitely right there with you. And I'm so grateful. And I know that your father and your siblings and your mom and your brother from heaven are so proud of you. So what can we expect, Shontelle Norman-Beatty, as we go into 2022?
As we go into 2022, expect a lot of soul. I can say that from Jonathon Richmond's brain, his crazy musical brain, and his heart as well. And from both of our soul, because it's just not me, but it's both of us, creating what God has given to both of us, and just bringing it to life. And it's just gospel soul, it's hallelujah. It's a gospel soul.
You better come on, mother of the gospel soul.
What comes from the heart reaches the heart.
Yes.
It's the soul of the good news. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. It's the spirit in the good news. It's just not a message, but it's a message to reach you and to reach that heart of you. So that's just what it is. Y'all can listen. Trust me.
Well, they're going to keep up with you. And the way they can do that is follow you on all your social, Facebook, the Instagram,
YouTube, all of that. Like YouTube and Facebook is the same. Shontelle Norman-Beatty. I tried my best to keep it as simple as possible. And Instagram is Shontelle Sings 901. Shout out to Memphis all day long. Memphis.
All right. She's still repping the 901, even if she's in the TX.
Of course.
I love you so much, and I am so grateful. And I told y'all I said, y'all going to the top. Now, I'm waiting on that Grammy. I'm waiting on the Grammy now.
I'm waiting on it too. Like, I'm anticipating. I'm anticipating right about now. I'm like, okay, Lord, where we going? Let's go. Yes. I'm on it. I'm on here now. I'm riding in the passenger seat and letting God do all the driving.
Yes. I got to wrap it up with this little memory, because your manager, we got to show some love to your manager.
Of course, Miss Angie.
Several years ago, myself, Angela William Cage, and also Jonathon Richmond's wife, Sylvia Richmond, on Marshall, we used to have a little hole in the wall. This is over 15 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Remember, we were on Marshall, and we would have when churches stopped having night service, and we opened up, I guess, what would now be considered a light club, because all y'all church kids would come over there and sing in this little hole in the wall that we had. Sylvia, I think, was cooking. I think Angela was collecting money at the door, and I was emceeing the program. And yes, I think that's when a lot of them started doing Shea and John and some other people. They would start singing a lot of jazz stuff, John Reddick. And it was just, we were before our time. And so to see you all, because sometimes we whisper like, these kids are grown up on us. And I'm so happy. And I'm so glad that Angie is supporting you in what you're doing. And I'm looking forward to all the amazingness that you are. And more to come. And tell your husband I still want to do something with him in television and film. So let's put it on the record.
I surely will tell him that.
Okay. All the love. And thank you all so much for checking out Shontelle Norman-Beatty. Get her new single, Jesus Will Fix It.
On all streaming sites.
All right. Much love. And until next time.